What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40K. In this one, we're going to be going over an excerpt that talks about the Tau Fire Warriors fighting against an uncanny enemy, one that they're not too used to fighting, and that is the forces of chaos in the form of Slaanesh. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and see how the greater good takes on the Prince of Depravity. Listen closely, my warriors, for the tale I am about to recount is one of violence unshackled, of horrors that defy reason, and of a depravity so vile it threatens the very soul of our greater good empire. It is a cautionary tale, yes, but also one of stark reality, a dark truth about those who seek not victory, nor the advancement of any noble cause, but war for its own sickening pleasure. These enemies revel in destruction, in the defilement of their fallen foes, and in the twisted ecstasy of their violence. This tale serves as a grim warning to all who might falter in their commitment to the Tau Va. The world of Kalshan lies on the edge of stability, its skies choked by storms, its peace fragile at best. It is a place where dangers lurk in the shadows of the Purtis Rift, a region so rife with malevolent forces that even the most seasoned of pilots steer clear of it. Some even whisper that it is haunted, though until the Battle of Mount Tau, I dismissed such talk as nothing more than superstition. Now, I'm no longer certain. The invaders who had emerged from the rift left no room for doubt. Their depredations were savage and meaningless, a wanton slaughter of Tau that served no end other than that to sate their monstrous appetite. These were not simple pirates or raiders. They were something far worse, something that could not be reasoned with. And though I would never condone Oshova's methods, I find myself unable to wholly condemn him. The atrocities I witnessed have given me a clarity I once lacked, a clarity that came into sharper focus on the cursed world of Kalshan. Many times had our warriors, trained at Kaishi, led successful expeditions to defend our people. When the Shasar Tol entrusted me with command of 6 cadres, I accepted with grim resolve. A threat had arisen, and I would see it eradicated. Along the way, we were joined by a Kroot war sphere. Though I had no knowledge of any Kroot forces in this region, it was strange and unsettling development that I thought little of at the time. Upon reaching Kalshan, the horror became immediately apparent. Entire settlements had been reduced to ash, Tau corpses desecrated beyond recognition. There was no rhyme, no reason to this destruction, no plunder, no loot, nothing of value had been taken. It was clear that the invaders were driven by a darker, more twisted desire. It was violence for the sake of violence. But what I would witness next would shake me to my very core. Pathfinders reported strange columns of black smoke rising on the horizon, and we hurried towards the fires. What we discovered was a charnel house of unimaginable horror. In a ruined colony known as Fokai, the army of the invaders still lingered. They bore a grotesque semblance to Gui-la, but their forms were nightmarishly warped, sinewy limbs, distorted organs, and mouths that gibbered in perverse ecstasy. They were not here for conquest, but for indulgence. We struck with force, cutting down all but one. The prisoner, a twisted mockery of life, seemed to take delight in the agony our weapons had wrought. His laughter, sickening, guttural, broke something within me. I was forced to restrain my chassel from executing him. But though I too longed for that swift justice, I needed answers, and so I spoke to this wretch. The things he told me, I shall not burden you with the full weight of his confessions, for they were enough to chill the blood in my veins. He spoke of his dark master, a being named Slaanesh, whose followers reveled in excess, in every form of decadence. It was a perverse religion, a blasphemy against the Tau Va. Slaanesh had claimed Kalshan, and we could not allow such a malignant influence to spread further. When I executed the prisoner, I learned the location of Slaanesh's main force, but as I ventured outside to rally my troops, something caught my eye. The Kroot, those I had trusted in, were feasting upon the corpses of our fallen enemies, and at first I thought little of it. But in the moments that followed, I realized how gravely I had misjudged the situation. The prisoner's information allowed us to set an ambush, and we moved swiftly into position. I devised a plan based on the Kaulian strategy, placing Kroot at the center to lure the enemy into our trap. With my crisis teams and hammerheads in reserves, we waited for the enemy's approach. When they arrived, I was met with a sight that struck at the very heart of my will to fight. The army of Slaanesh, if one could even call it an army, was a chaos of shimmering colors and dissonant noise. Warriors in beautiful armor, creatures of impossible anatomy, and grotesque beasts that were part man, part nightmare. But the true horror began to unfold when the Kroot began to behave as if under some dark influence. They became entranced, their minds warped by the perverse aura of the horde of Slaanesh. Those Kroot who had feasted on the enemy corpses at Fokai were now fully under the sway of this dark power. As Slaanesh's army veered towards our position, the Kroot at the forefront turned on us, their eyes gleaming with madness. All hell broke loose. The Kroot were no longer our allies. They had become our enemies. My forces held the line as best they could, but the overwhelming tide of the minions of Slaanesh seemed unbreakable. No matter how many times we killed them, they kept coming, unfazed, unrelenting, their twisting forms charging without pause. It was only when my untainted Kroot broke from their ranks, slicing through their corrupted kin, that the balance began to shift. With the battlefield thrown into disarray, I led a counterattack. Surrounded by my warriors, I carved a path through the heart of Slaanesh's forces, pushing forward with deadly precision. At last, I faced the creature I had vowed to kill, the embodiment of corruption in a dazzling hue in pink and blue. A moment of hesitation nearly overtook me as the heady scent of the creature's presence filled the air. For a brief, terrible instant, I felt an unnatural pull, an urge to succumb to the lustful indulgence that radiated from it. But I fought it down, steeling myself true. With a single shot from my fusion blaster, I ended its life, and with it, the nightmare that had begun on Kalshen. In the hours that followed, we hunted down the last of this broken army. By nightfall, we had eradicated every trace of this insidious force. As I returned to the site of the ambush, I found the Kroot, those who had been loyal, disposing of their corrupted kin. A pyre was set, the bodies burned, and their ashes scattered to the wind. When the fire had burned out, we gathered our dead and departed. I shudder at the thought of what might have become of Kalshen had we not intervened. Had Slaanesh been allowed to claim it, the very essence of our people would have been stained, perhaps beyond repair. I thank the Ethereals for their foresight, for it is only through the Tauva that we can withstand such darkness. We must never forget, to allow such a debased shadow of our former selves to exist is to dishonor those who have fought and died for the greater good. And with that being said, guys, we have come to the end of yet another short story on the Tau. So this is an interesting one, nothing too crazy, but at the same time, it's interesting to see the Tau fight against chaos. They're so not used to fighting things that can get corrupted. They're not used to demons and chaos and magic and sorcery and warp fuckery and all that shit. So they try their best to understand it. And yeah, even the Kroot themselves weren't akin to what they were fighting, what flesh they were eating. But nonetheless, an interesting short story. And I do wish we get more instances of this. I know as of current events, the Tau have been fighting against the Death Guard, so I'm pretty sure we might be able to see some hints, some instances of Nurgle corrupted Tau, because I know when it comes to Farsight, we've already seen what can happen when the Tau get corrupted by the influence of Khorne. So it seems that chaos is creeping itself around the Tau Empire, and I can't wait to see what other instances of that we get in future lore. But that's all I got for today, guys. So as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys in the new year. This has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll catch you then. Peace.
Always used to put my freedom first in any